Bro, you thick AF, bro. I know, man. Chat, you want to see true thickness? You want to see true thickness, chat? This is true thickness. Alright? So to just be commenting that I'm thick, and you ain't even seen how thick I am. Alright? Because if you don't know, then you don't know. This is how thick I am. Misogynistic pigs. Omega lol. Alrighty boyos, welcome back once again to another video. How you guys doing, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at Conqueror Magnus. Now this is my first ever video on a Constructor loadout. Just yesterday during the Twitch live stream, a lot of you guys were in chat, you were helping me out, you know, showing me some points of interest within the Constructors and giving me some ideas for some builds for, you know, people like Ice King and Megabase and stuff. And so, you know, ever since then I started getting more into Constructors, I started building them, and now I have a build for Conqueror Magnus. A lot of you guys have been asking me for a Constructor build. Later on down the line, I might do like a in general best Constructor build, but this video is for the best build for Conqueror Magnus, or at least the best that you can get him, because in my opinion, the new hero quests for the Constructors are... yeah, the Constructors that you can unlock are pretty bad, and Magnus in my opinion is a little bit better. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, how you unlock Magnus is going on over to your quest, going to the quest log, and there will be something called hero quest here that unlocks whenever you're a little bit past early Canny Valley. Essentially for the first quest you complete 3 missions as a Constructor and you unlock the astronaut character, and then after that you defeat 300 husks as a Constructor and then you unlock Magnus. Now in my opinion, Magnus was the better of the two, so in today's video we'll take a look at Magnus. So what does Magnus do? Well, first up, he is a Viking. Okay, he looks pretty freaking dope. He's got an amazing llama tattoo right here. Would just love to get that right on my forehead. But you know, this is a Viking. He looks really cool. He's got a little cape, little furry boots and whatnot, and some chainmail. Very, very, very cool hero, and in my opinion, absolutely perfect for a Constructor hero. But let's take a look at his abilities. We got Decoy, Rosie, and Bull Rush, and at the bottom it says Conquer the Storm. Now, Rosie, as we all know, it's garbage. Definitely needs a buff, so don't really pay Rosie any attention, plus like every Constructor has it anyways. But his perks, we have Your Move Creep. Decoy deals 6 base damage every 1 second to nearby enemies. His commander perk, which is what we're going to be getting use out of today, is Your Move Creep Plus. Your Decoy deals 13 base damage every 1 second to nearby enemies. So because of his commander perk being completely based around this, we are going to try to make his Decoy as best as we can. So let's go ahead and take a look at the loadout. Now keep in mind, this video is not telling you what the best Constructor build is. You know, if I were showing you guys the best Constructor build, I'd be playing as Ice King, I'd be playing as Megabase or whatever. This is just to get the most out of Conqueror Magnus. He's already a weak character, so we're trying to make him as good as we can. So let's just go ahead and jump into it. So as far as the team perk is concerned, in my opinion, this is like a best team perk across any Constructor. You guys know how the multiple jumps for the ninjas are the best. In my opinion, this is probably the best for the Constructor. We have the supercharged traps, increases damage of traps affected by base by 8.5%. You really can't get any better than this. I really like this perk a lot for the team. I was using it with Ice King and it's pretty useful. Now for the support team, we have Grease the Wheels. Now this comes from Controller Harper, and if we go to the perk, it says decreases your decoy cooldown by 17%. I feel like this is an absolute essential standard perk to have if you are going to be using Magnus. If you're trying to get the most out of your decoy, having its cooldown is having its cooldown reduced is very, very, very good. Now we have Sentinel Hype. Her perk increases the decoy duration by 1.5 seconds, and I actually really like this character, to be honest, especially cosmetically. Not because of that, but because of her helmet. You know, I really like the helmet. It's a really unique look, especially with the colors as well. This character is actually pretty dope. I like Hype, and I might make a commander build with her one day, but she increases your decoy duration by 1.5 seconds, which is useful. Then we have Hazard the 13th. We go to the perks. Your decoy reflects 15 base damage back at enemies that melee attack it. So this is going to allow your decoy to do even more damage. So not only are we keeping our decoy up, more often because of the cooldown reduction, not only is the decoy lasting longer, but then the decoy also will allow you to do even more damage on top of Magnus's damage. Now right here we have the Megabase Kyle buff, which is basically basically going to increase your base connectivity by 1 tile, which is, you know, pretty useful. And then we have heavy base right here. Eliminating enemies standing on the structure affected by base charges base, and after 30 charges it emits an explosion which knocks back enemies and deals 39 base energy damage in a 3 tile radius. So heavy base Kyle, you know, pretty useful, I guess. Probably a lot more useful on people like Mega Base, but I'm trying to get his base as strong as possible because we're already putting so much into his decoy. Now, let's show some gameplay of this decoy in action. So first up, I'm going to show you guys gameplay of the decoy that is not being buffed by Magnus, or at least with Magnus as the commander. So the gameplay you guys are seeing right now is an exact copy of the loadout that we're using, except Magnus is not in the commander slot. And keep in mind that we are using this on Husky Husks, so the damage is really not going to be that great, but I'm testing it on Husky Husks so that I'm able to test the damage values. So as you guys can see, this is the damage for it on heavy base Kyle with very much the similar loadout. Now let's check it out with Magnus. Now what Magnus is supposed to do, he's supposed to allow you to do double the damage with your decoy. And actually, funny enough, Conqueror Magnus's commander perk actually looks like it is working in this clip, and it looks like it did just a little bit over double the damage, which is what the commander perk says that it will do. Now, as to why Epic Games decided that Magnus's commander perk was going to work, but somebody's like Ventura's was not going to work, I don't know. But from that gameplay, it looks like the decoy is working. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that whenever you are using your decoy, to please use it on enemies that do not have much health, as if you're trying to use it as an offensive decoy, you don't want to use it on Husky Husks. You are not going to be able to kill them, but you know, we'll get to some gameplay and I'll show you guys exactly how useful the decoy can be, at least on trash mobs. But yeah, you know, the decoy outright, even with all of those buffs, all the buffs right here, it really doesn't do that much damage in my opinion. If you're trying to use Conqueror Magnus as a commander, you probably shouldn't. But let's go ahead and jump to the actual gameplay portion of the video, showcase this guy in action, using his decoy every now and again, and exactly see how effective this man can be, and just kind of give my general thoughts on the guy. So let's hop into it. Alrighty boyos, so here we are at the gameplay portion of the video with Conqueror Magnus. Now, with my experience playing this character, you know, I've played this guy for a few missions here and there, and you know, I actually do have pretty good knowledge of constructors. Ever since before the hero rework, I pretty much know what a good constructor is. And with Conqueror Magnus, what I did notice is that yes, whenever you do use this man's whenever you use his decoy, it is going to actually do really good damage. The first thing that I noticed, you know, I did the test before I ran this mission, and you know, I got to see the amount of damage that it was doing to Husky Husks, and I was very like disappointed, I guess I could say. I was really expecting that whenever you have a character completely centered around decoy damage, that Conqueror Magnus would be really good with the decoy. After all, the decoy is really only used to get attention, so if you can add damage on top of that, you can have a really strong character. But whenever I tested it on the Huskies, I was a little bit disappointed. However, in this gameplay right here, I was able to use it a few times on some big groups of enemies with some Husky Husks, not Husky Husks, with some Husklings and some normal Husks, and I was actually kind of impressed. It was genuinely killing pretty much any enemy that was around it, as long as it wasn't a Husky Husk or anything above that, which is pretty good in my opinion. And even whenever a Husky Husk would roll up on the decoy, it was actually doing some pretty okay damage at that. Now, for Conqueror Magnus, the thing is, the deal breaker here is that even though he does do decent damage to the normal trash mobs and whatever, is it enough to warrant him being your commander? In my opinion, absolutely not. Is it worth him being your support character? In my opinion, absolutely not. I don't think that Conqueror Magnus has that amount of strength to the point where you would actually want him as your commander, or you would actually want him as your support hero. Now, the good thing about Conqueror Magnus is that, or about this entire hero rework, is that you can build the guy however you want. You know, if you like the way that Magnus looks, you don't even need to focus on his decoy if you don't want to. You can focus on just his base and buffing him as a constructor in general just because you like the way that he looks. And that's the great thing about the hero rework. You get excellent customization with this thing, and I'll have a whole video out on that tomorrow, you know, talking about the hero rework in general. But with Conqueror Magnus and with this hero rework, he just is not worth using as your commander. He's just not worth it. So if you would like, you can always make him a normal constructor and whatever. But from my experience, the Decoy just doesn't have enough radius to get enemies to go to it. It doesn't really do enough damage, even with all the buffs on top of it. And it's just not really a standout character. Whenever you have such strong picks like Heavy Base, Mega Base, and Ice King, you know, looking at Magnus is just like, oh, this guy's not even average. You know, you were just losing by picking this guy. So if you are going to use this guy, keep in mind that he just isn't that useful. The meta picks that you can pick from, which you do have a pretty wide variety of, you know, just are going to be better 100% of the time and more useful to your team. However, Magnus is a fun character to use. You know, he looks really cool. It's a breath of fresh air to actually use him. And in my opinion, if I ever truly like the way that he looks, I would try to make a build that basically completely ignores his entire commander perk. But the whole point of this best loadout series is to try to capitalize on a hero's commander perk and make it as best as we can. And with Magnus, no matter what you do, no matter what you throw on him, I looked for as many really good decoy supports as I could, and even with all of those stacked on top of each other, Magnus still ends up being a little bit of a disappointment. Although, like I said, I was a little bit impressed. Oh god, yeah, right here, this freaking Riot Husky just no-U'd me. I was gonna rush him and he turned around and stopped me and then blipped me. But you know, after playing with this guy, he's just not worth it. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other characters that you could play as besides Magnus, and I tried to capitalize on him as best I could with as many decoy supports as I could, and I just couldn't get him to work. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. He's a really cool looking character, and I think that's where he's going to find favor with a lot of people. I really do hope that he gets buffed in the future, and I hope that Epic Games is going to be actively buffing characters like these, because with the hero rework, like, you don't want to always go for the most optimal build. You know, in Fortnite, the game's easy as is. You can go with whatever build you want to, but it's always unfortunate that whenever you have a really cool looking character, that they still turn out to not be as good as others. So hopefully we can get a buff to his decoy damage, make him really useful, even against Husky Husk, for example, because if you're going to focus an entire commander on one aspect of his kit, you want to make it at least a little bit useful. But guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. In my opinion, Magnus just isn't worth it, but some of you guys might have some differing opinions, so I want to hear from you. But yeah, this is, I guess, finally the last hero that I really wanted to cover out of the new hero quest. If you guys want me to cover the other heroes from the hero quest, like Light Show and the Astronaut and the other ninja and whatever, just let me know down in the comments and I can do that. But guys, that's it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I greatly do appreciate it, and I will see you guys next time.